Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of 5/8 TV podcast, Betty Draper Sucks. I am your main best host, Cameron, and my co-host
Main.
is Dave. And
Hi.
we're going to be talking a lot about Mad Men.
Yeah, we all saw the premiere yesterday, and we're all very happy with the show being back.
The best thing about the show being back is that you did not notice it was gone. The way the show went, it did not feel like it was on a hiatus at all.
Well, no, it didn't for me because it hasn't been that long since I actually watched the whole thing. But yeah, it doesn't feel like the show's lost anything in the time that it was off air.
I wasn't talking about physical time being passed. I was talking about the way that the show, had momentum still. It didn't feel like it had taken that long.
No, that's right. Yeah, and it feels like the show hasn't lost anything in the time it was off.
All right, among other things, we will be discussing a lot of Mad Men, of course. I have a couple other discussion topics that Dave wants to get into. Child actors, obviously the Walking Dead season finale will be discussed briefly, even though I didn't watch it. A couple other things.
Yeah, I just want to talk about this new show. Well, it's not new, but it's new to me. This show, Outnumbered, a British
Forgot about that
sitcom, which I've been enjoying a lot recently. But we'll talk about that later.
All right, well, we might as well get into the premiere. So, Dave, what were your immediate thoughts?
Well, my first thought was that the show's definitely kept the energy, and the show doesn't feel any different than it did before. And that was one of the things that we were afraid of when we were talking about it last week, that the show might have outstayed its welcome or changed a little bit too much during the hiatus. But it doesn't feel that way, and I'm really confident that this new season is going to be really enjoyable watching.
The writing, I thought, was very confident.
Yeah, they feel with every passing season, they feel like they're much more comfortable with the characters, and they're much more comfortable with the show. Also, the cast feels it feels to me like the cast was really happy to be back, and just happy to be doing their job. They obviously really enjoy working with each other.
What about Don and Megan working together? And that seems a little weird for Don.
Yeah, that's one of the things in the premiere. They've sort of set up the conflict that's going to permeate the whole season. You got the race conflict. You got the conflict between Pete and Roger, and obviously
the nepotism conflict, obviously.
Yeah, there's the Megan Don relationship and working together.
It looks that Megan. It looks like she's fairly. It looks like she knows what she's doing around the office and gets along, fairly well with the people, except for Peggy.
Yeah, Peggy's obviously extremely jealous of Megan's position. Not that she's jealous that she's with Don, but she's jealous that she's achieved so much where Peggy had to work. She had to work so hard for it.
Peggy is always looking for recognition. She has become so arrogant and so entitled. She needs that recognition so badly.
Yeah, she's become comfortable in her position. It's almost like she's forgotten
a female Don.
Yeah, she's forgotten that she had to work for it as much as she actually did.
Yeah, her ideas. She knew what she was doing. She had to work for it, obviously, but it doesn't make her achievements any less.
She's still insecure about her own her skill and her.
She's
her power. Yeah, that's right. Especially being a woman in the 60s.
So I was not surprised, but enthused to see that the Pete and Roger rivalry, the humorous Pete and Roger rivalry, had continued, and obviously Pete's getting the upper hand.
Yeah, Pete was great in this episode. I really enjoyed Pete in this episode.
Roger, his role, his importance seems to just dwindle with every single episode. I mean, he doesn't bring in any new business. Pete is bringing in all the new business.
Roger's turning into the new Cooper.
Yeah, no, I didn't even really think of that. It's true.
Speaking of which, how comes Cooper's back? Was that mentioned at all? He's just there.
It was not mentioned. It was not mentioned. Oh, he just showed up, and that was one of the things that kind of irked me about him leaving the show. Is that it wasn't really. It was just offhand and thrown away, and it was just as offhand and thrown away about him coming back.
Yeah.
I assume that we'll find out why he came back and what happened.
Maybe him leaving was never really all that serious in the first place.
Yeah, maybe he's done it before.
Yeah, he could be the sort of attention-seeking person that likes to storm out.
Anyway, seems that he's really struggling with feelings of inadequacy and unhappiness, and his dwindling role at the agency, obviously, and the way he
He's
desperately
unhappy in his personal life as well.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, who didn't see that coming? With that trollop,
Yeah.
as Bert called her, which I was surprised didn't offend Roger at all, but I'm also not that surprised. And he also paid so much money to Harry to keep his office. You wonder how much self-importance is just within the office itself to him.
Yeah, Roger's a very vain person. He's probably the vainest person at SCTP.
The most vain person at the work.
I think so. Yeah. He cares about his outward, the way the world sees him, so much more than everybody else does. At least out of all of the senior people.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It also probably has to do with the fact that he doesn't really do anything.
Not anymore, no. Should we just talk about the production of the show a little bit, the direction and the all that sort of stuff? Because I feel like the show does that sort of thing really well. And one of the things that I found particularly impressive, especially I noticed it in this episode, but I noticed it a lot in season 4 once they moved to the new office, that the show has the use of color, which is just really impressive, a lot beyond what every other show on TV has at the moment. I think every show, well, at least most shows that are on TV right now, are focused on being really gritty. Like it's like video games, everything's brown and grey, but the colors in Mad
like
Men
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, the colors in Mad Men are so vibrant. If you just bought a new TV and you want to test out the color reproduction, just watch an episode set in the office.
Another thing that goes back to the production and the cinematography and all that. It was funny how in the Sterling Cooper offices were kind of dark, kind of dreary. People kind of had their shades drawn.
Yeah, they were left
you
over.
almost think at times.
There were old offices left over from the 50s.
But the new offices, every shot in those new offices is bright. It's always like the sun's coming out. It's like a new beginning in that place.
Yeah, it's much more modern.
So how about that party scene? We had
the song it was just me. It was like really awkward. It's uncomfortable.
It was a little bit of a douche chill watching that for Don and for Megan and for Harry, who's just. By the way, what he said
Megan
was
and
just
Don
great.
still don't get each other.
I mean, obviously. Anyway, that party scene. What was I saying, Megan? She's becoming more of a character. Obviously, I'm not quite sure how good of an actress she is yet. And we got to see more of her than we have, obviously.
Yeah,
but her and Don have a really weird relationship.
Yeah, they do. It's obvious that Don's sort of masochist side is definitely still there.
And that whole sexual scene at the end of the episode when he comes in there and she's like, you don't get this, you don't get to have this. That's not the first time that's happened, I would assume, with them.
No, he loves that. You can tell that he loves it. It's like it's part of their routine, which is
definitely part of their thing. She's got no ass, by the way.
No, not really. She's no Betty, that's for sure.
Betty's fucking perfect.
Physically, at least.
That's what I meant. Why else would I care?
Also, the show's always been the show that keeps up with the times and makes itself relevant to what's happening during the year that it's set, and being at 1966 now in the show. And
July of 1996 it starts, yeah.
1966?
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said 1996.
Yeah, 1996, that's when the show's set. That's what I meant.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but it's...
Don's gonna have the LA lights in the next episode.
They're gonna mourn Kurt Cobain's Tupac's death.
I wonder what the show would be like if it was in 1996. Like, he would come home and Sally's playing Genesis and Don's like, stop playing that bullshit. And, she's like, stop drinking so much. And they get in, a huge fist fight and Sally kicks his ass. And that would be a show. That's pretty much what happened in the 90s.
Yeah, if it reaches season 35, then that's what it'll be like.
Well, they did say, or Matthew Weiner did say that the end of the show would feature old versions of the character, like an old man Don Draper.
Oh, really? I don't think I like
Yeah,
that.
you had not heard that, huh? Yeah,
No,
that seemed weird to me, but it could be a flash forward. Who knows what it'll be
it's like
like?
feel like the end of Harry Potter. It's creepy and old makeup.
Yeah, and Don will be sitting there in Sterling Cooper, Draper, Price, Campbell, Olson, whoever else they had on as a partner, and be 75 and decrepit and old, and Megan will be sleeping with Roger's third son, and he'll regret his life, and he'll blow his brains out, and Lane Price's daughter will clean it up. That's probably what's gonna happen.
Yeah, but anyway, my original point was that the show keeps it keeps itself relevant with what's happening in the world during the time that it's set, and the race thing is going to obviously become a much more prevalent thing during this season than it ever has in the past. I always felt during the second and third season that it should have been there because I'm pretty sure the civil rights movement was happening at that time.
Yeah, they had
But
that thing with what's his
it was
name, Paul, and going. That was very, very minor and
yeah,
showing pretty overt racism.
it was kind of just in the background, and it was never really addressed all that much. But I think that's partly because the most of that stuff that was happening at that time was not really happening in New York City. It was mostly happening in the South and sort of in DC and places like that. But
Yeah.
now it's becoming nationwide, and it's obviously going to be a much more prevalent theme in season 5 than it ever has in the past. And I think that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to is the way that the show deals with that. When Sterling Cooper Draper Price gets its first black employee.
Well, think about it. Roger and Don are currently sharing a secretary. Maybe one of them gets a black secretary with Roger. That would be great to have with Roger with a black secretary.
Yeah, and sure. Well, obviously they won't pay her anywhere near as much as they do all the white secretaries.
I also liked how casually and flippantly Pete suggested firing the receptionist just to hire a black employee. He seems like he's becoming so ruthless and just that guy.
Yeah, he's definitely becoming a much more confident person now that he's got this extra weight to carry around. Now that he's the one bringing in all these clients.
He really lords over all of his achievements over Roger and anybody else that has ever doubted him or kind of picked on him, thought he was just a little piece of shit. And it seems to me like he's turning into the next Don. And really
Peggy
did that.
Peggy and Pete are both sort of turning into two different sides of the same Don.
Yeah, obviously. But Pete especially. I mean, when he came home to that new house, which was just in spirit, in just the way it looked, was so similar to Don's old house, like a farmhouse, and just out in the country. I mean, what did she say? They get an acre of land or a couple acres of land, and he wants a dog.
Yeah,
and he coming home later, like his friend in the train.
Yeah,
was talking about. He who knows what's gonna happen with him and Trudy.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's going to also we can predict that's going to develop more during season 5. And
the way that sorry, go ahead.
No, you go on.
I was going to say the way that scene was shot, and just the way that the music's being used for Pete now, almost the subtleties are making you almost think. I mean, you would watch that scene and you would think the show's about him.
Yeah, he was. He's definitely becoming. Well, he's definitely becoming a more main character in the lives of the other characters, but also in the eyes of the production staff as well.
Do you think in the lifespan of the show that we're gonna see like Roger or somebody kicked out, or perhaps Pete become even more important than he is right now, like on the level of Don?
Yeah, maybe. I don't see it as being out of the question. The show's not shied away from that sort of thing. Maybe that's the sort of thing that during the interview, John Hamm was talking about shocking things that are coming in season 5. That's maybe that's sort of something like that was what he was alluding to.
When I was watching the premiere, and Megan went out to the balcony after Don so Don-like told her off in his way. It almost felt like that scene in Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I felt like that. Jenny,
yeah, she was ready to jump off the roof. It had that vibe a little bit.
Yeah,
I was like, maybe that's a shocking turn because I was thinking that, but it's like, there's no way they'd kill her off.
No, not especially not in the premiere of the season.
I really hope the show doesn't turn to those kind of lost thrills where it kills a character every third episode and leaves on cliffhangers. That would piss me off.
Yeah, it would really ruin the vibe of the show.
The vibe of the show, the atmosphere, it is so perfect right now. They cannot do any wrong. Everything, it's just all done.
Yeah, it is well done. Yeah. Another thing we haven't talked about is Joan. Obviously, she's had a baby, which I kind of actually forgot about that she was pregnant in the first place.
Yeah, I've been wanting to talk about Joan this entire time. I thought Christina Hendricks was outstanding in this episode.
Yeah, she really was. She really conveys Joan's the way Joan is so good at her job. I feel like Joan. I really connect with Joan in that sort of way because Joan's sort of person that's she's so good at her job. Like she's probably the best person at that job that has ever existed. But it's a job that a lot of people consider to be one that doesn't require skill. And it's you can see when she does it how she's so much better at it than everybody else. It's really a great thing to watch because it proves to people that there are skills beyond what the average person would consider to be a skill, like something that requires a couple letters at the end of your name.
Yeah, another thing with the way Joan's acted and been acting is she's never felt appreciated. She's never felt appreciated. You could feel like by anybody, and the way her mom was talking to her. She doesn't want to be a stay-at-home mom at all.
No.
She needs to feel like she's really important, and it just bleeds out of that performance.
Yeah, she does a great job, Christina Hendricks.
That scene when she was with Lane in his office, and just how lonely she was, and just I almost thought that they were gonna kiss.
That would have been even more complicated. Lane's also having a bit of a relationship problem.
Oh God, is he lonely and desperate? He is. I feel so bad for that man. He's obviously very, very ugly, but he is. But he's very, very lonely, and you can tell that he is not having sex with his wife. And if he is, it's. I mean, he's. What happened with with his black little plaything? Did he? I mean, was that in the finale? I don't remember if that was in the season 4 finale or not. But as soon as his dad hit him in the head with his cane, that kind of stopped. And I guess it's over. But he's that poor guy. And
I can't wait to meet Dolores though. Yeah.
Dem titties on Dolores.
Yeah, they were definitely there.
She almost looked like an actress I recognized. I recognized her before. I don't know where to place
her.
I don't appreciate that kind of comment on this podcast. We don't talk about sex. Anyway, did you think speaking of Joan, going back to Joan, it seemed like her hair was darker?
I don't know.
It seemed like her hair was more red.
Yeah, bodies do change once you've had kids.
She didn't actually have a child, though, did she?
The actress, you mean? She has, but I don't know if it was during the hiatus.
Yeah, I don't think she actually had one.
No, but I'm saying that could just be the production staff just doing that to make it look like she's had a baby. And also, when you have a baby, your boobs get bigger, which is something that I didn't think was possible for Christina Hendricks, but it.
Her boobs are gigantic and outstanding.
Yeah, they really are. That's probably one of the reasons why this episode was the highest rated episode of Mad Men that's ever actually aired. Was
it? I haven't looked at the.
Yeah.
What did it get?
Oh, it pulled a 4.4, something like that.
Did you know that the last episode of Lost got 22?
Yeah, well, that's right. The Lost has a much wider appeal,
and it's on ABC.
Yeah.
Oh, can you imagine Mad Men on ABC? That would be terrible. Did you see the YouTube videos of Breaking Bad on ABC?
Yeah, I was just about to say.
I love that theme song. Yeah. I love that theme song. And the left, right? No, that's really well done. That's actually better than the actual Breaking Bad.
All the little canned laughter as well. Yeah, it poured in a 3.5, which is a most watched episode in the series' history, and it pulled 1.6 million in 18 to 49, which is a 30% increase from the season 4 premiere. So, and it's also above its average from the last season as well.
Let's hope that these numbers stick. I mean, I'd love for the show to get a wider audience.
Yeah, it's the sort of show that I think, on the face of it, seems like it would have a public appeal, but when people watch it, they think, "What's happening in this show?" But if they give it more of a chance, then they get into it. Then I think a lot of people can enjoy it.
There's a lot of false misconceptions about the show. I mean, I've seen people saying that it was a soap opera, which is ridiculous. And the furthest thing that you could describe, the only thing that makes it like a soap opera is there's a lot of sex, and there's a lot of character stuff. So of course there's going to be a lot of sex, and you're going to see relationships. But the soap opera thing is retarded because soap operas have generic
evil
stories.
Twin comes in during a wedding.
They have stupid stories. They have terrible acting. It's completely serialized. But Mad Men's got none of those.
Yeah.
So, Don Draper seems like almost like a different man. He is seems like he's happier. He's more content.
Like he's happier. That's the thing.
Seems like he's happier. Obviously, it's only we've only seen 90 minutes of this season, and it seems like he's putting his relationship with Megan and his his sexual conquests over the company, which he has done before, obviously, but not in the office. And I mean, what he said to Megan, he says, I don't care about work. I want you at work because I want you.
Yeah, that's going to be a conflict during the season.
Yeah, obviously it's going to be a very central conflict. It's set up pretty well, and you can tell that the way people think that Megan got her job because she's Megan Draper, which is weird sounding.
Yeah, Mrs. Draper. Every time someone said Mrs. Draper, I expected Betty to walk in the room.
I would love for Betty to walk in there and just be like, "This is what I did, you motherfuckers. This is my work. Here's my coupons, 50% off. Deal with it." And she just sits there and tells Sally to go watch TV.
Speaking of Sally, she was in it this episode, but only briefly. But she was good. The actress Kiernan Shipka was good, like she always is.
Yeah, and she looks like she's about 5 years older.
Yeah, well, little kids, when they're that age, when she's like, what is she, 11, 12, the actress, they grow pretty quickly.
And she's around that. And her voice much deeper. She looks much bigger. She looks way bigger than Bobby. And it seemed like earlier on in the series that Bobby and Sally were on more of an incline, in age. Instead now, Sally's seems like Sally's way older than Bobby. But
she's 12 years
the third
old,
guy.
Actress, by the way.
The third. Is she? She's like the third. This is like the third guy that's played Bobby. And each of them uglier than the last. Yeah, he's a different one. Well, I think there was, in the first couple of seasons, he was a little boy. And then later on in the series, I think it was season 4, they had another one. And then obviously now, with the almost 2-year hiatus.
Yeah, that's the problem with child actors when they're not main characters. You can sort of mess around with that sort of thing.
Well, Sally's become a main character now, so they can't do anything with that.
That was all the actresses... just because of how good she is, they brought her into a more prominent role. She started off just as a background sort of plot
but she's
device.
Outstanding.
She is really good, yeah. She's definitely one of the best actresses on TV, child actresses on TV, along with the Mad Men, the Game of Thrones actors and actresses that playing the Stark children are also really good. Another show which is coming back soon, which I'm looking forward to. And the children in that show have got very grown-up responsibilities because the show's very dark, and especially the sort of things that happens to the children is very dark. So,
the time period that the show is set in, children had to grow up much faster.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It also leads me into the other show I want to talk about today, which is Outnumbered, which is a show that I've been enjoying the hell out of recently. It's just wrapped up actually at the end of last year. There's 4 seasons of it and a couple little Christmas specials, but it's a British show, so 4 seasons is like 15, 25 episodes. So
let me interject here. The British shows don't have long lives.
No, well they do sometimes, yeah, but there's generally not much in the way of content because the way they're written, especially on the shows that are on the BBC, is a lot different. Every episode's written by the same person or the same 2 or 3 people, and they're written and produced in a different manner. So there's only so much time they've got to make them. So there's 6 episodes per season of most British shows.
Why is that?
I'm not sure. It's just the way that it's always been. Most shows like The Office and all the old comedies like 40. There's only 13 episodes of 40 Towers.
Maybe that's why nobody really cares about anything unless it's made in America.
Yeah, the American shows they've got a much different writing schedule, and it's sort of spread out over multiple people, and the way that it's done is a lot different to the way it's done in Britain. So
I would figure, with the BBC being as gigantic of a network it is, that they would, kind of branch out and get, creative shows and big creative staffs.
Don't forget that the BBC is publicly funded, though. It's all funded by the British government.
Yeah, but there's enough funding there. I mean, they've got to be, pulling in enough, you would assume, right?
Well, they don't make as much money as you might think. But
also, yeah, and you'd think with the government, they probably don't really want you to do anything risky.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but getting back to Outnumbered, it's a great show. It's sort of what I would imagine Seinfeld or Curb Your Enthusiasm to be like if they were a family sitcom. It's got this sort of undercurrent of not really anything major happening. It's mostly about the sort of minutiae of the characters' lives and the little sort of bickering that happens in families and the way that parents and children have this relationship, and it's very realistic in that aspect. And I think one of the things that helps make it as realistic as it is that the children are allowed to, the actors, the children in the show are allowed to play with the scene a lot more. They're sort of given a direction where the scene has to start and where it ends, but during that time they can just sort of do whatever they want to get there. And
that sounds a lot like how Parks is done and how Curb Your Enthusiasm specifically is done. There's a lot of stuff going into that, and I can't think of the word.
Yeah, it's sort of semi-improvised, and it plays off the children a lot more. See, the problem with a lot of shows, one of the things that they say in the showbiz is that don't work with children or animals because they're unpredictable. But when you when you play off the children's unpredictability, that's where you really get the gems, because some of the lines that the children come out with in the show are just really great, and it feels so much more natural, and it feels a lot less forced than any other sitcom I've ever watched about a family.
It wouldn't happen to be on Netflix or anything, would it?
It could be, yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know.
It could be.
Well, what would I know? We don't have Netflix.
Well, usually when you start watching a show, you start reading around about it. You might figure something out.
I think it's been on TV in America. I think it's been on BBC America, so it could be on Netflix, but I don't know. It's also that. Yeah, it's also written by one of the writers is this guy Andy Hamilton. If anyone out there listening has ever watched QI before, they'll know who Andy Hamilton is, because he's a panelist on that show quite often. He's a really funny guy, and it's a great show. I recommend it greatly.
So, speaking of Sopranos, like I said, starting a rewatch. Yeah.
We weren't speaking of Sopranos.
That was... You got to be a little... You got to just give me a little bit here, okay?
Do you want to start that bit again?
No, I wanted that to be like that. You got to give me a little bit of help. Anyway,
speaking of Sopranos. Speaking of Sopranos.
You got to go along with it. Yes.
People are going to be like, why did he say speaking of Sopranos? They weren't talking about Sopranos.
When people leave this in, when people are listening to this podcast, I want them looking around their room drastically trying to figure out what's going on. I want them freaking out of their eyes, darting around their head, like looking out the window. I want this to change lives. Anyway, Sopranos. Started a rewatch of that show. I know you haven't finished it yet for many inexplicable reasons that are flaws of your character.
I haven't. I'll tell you why I haven't finished it. It's because I watched the first 4.5 seasons over the space of like a week or maybe 2 weeks at the most, and I got burnt out on it. And I haven't been.
Well, that's like 70 hours of TV. Back. What are you doing?
I know. Yeah.
Anyway, it's an outstanding show, and just gets better as it goes along. Season 1 has a really good ending line, or ending arc, and I just wanted people to know that I'm rewatching it after the first watch, and really cementing that what's his name who plays Tony is one of the best. Yeah, James Gandolfini. I was going to say James Van Der Beek. James Van Der Beek in Sopranos was outstanding.
People compare James Gandolfini and John Hamm a bit because they're two TV actors that have brought the what's the word I'm looking for?
Legitimacy?
Yeah, that's the word. They've brought the legitimacy of TV acting. They've increased it so much because it's they've so they've got so into their characters, they've absorbed.
They've
They've become their characters
so
much more than anyone else. And
so yeah, Tony Soprano plays Tony Soprano really well.
Yeah.
Anyway, James Gandolfini is outstanding, and even more so than John Hamm. I feel that he embodies and accompanies his character more than any other actor I've ever seen.
There's one thing that we forgot to talk about that we said we were going to, and that's the Walking Dead season 2 finale.
What a finale! I really loved it. It's my favorite show on television right now.
Yeah, no, obviously he doesn't watch it, but for those of us that do, we all watched all the season finale, and a lot of people got pretty mixed feelings about it. I thought it was a good season finale, but I hate it for being a good season finale because it's gonna make me want to watch season 3, which I don't want to do because I can just imagine, obviously, the prison being there at the end of the season finale is giving a big indication that that's where they're going to be holding up for a while, and I'm just afraid that the show's going to stagnate because they're going to be stuck in one place for a long period of time again. Obviously, I understand why, because it's costing them less money because there's, they can stay on one set, but I feel like the show doesn't benefit from being stuck in one place at all. When nothing's happening, the show just stagnates.
What I heard is that Rick or Rich or Ricky,
it's
Rick. or Jimmy Billy brutally murdered Shane.
Well, it wasn't really so much as a brutal murder. It was actually sort of well done. It was a bit sort of Shakespearean, and they were sort of both trying to kill each other, and he just got the upper hand at the very end, literally, because he stabbed him in the chest.
Yeah. Well, I don't watch the show, so I really don't care.
Yeah,
it's a pretty bad show.
It is. I'm still not happy with the fact that it's doing so well. But it's I'm gonna watch the 3rd season because I'm an idiot and I can't help myself.
Because obviously you have nothing better to do than watch average TV.
Yeah, that's my life right now. Average with a capital nothing.
So speaking of TV, last night I watched the season 5 episode, Lisa on Ice of The Simpsons. Watched it with a close friend of mine named Tristan.
Oh yeah,
not a close friend; he's a douchebag. But yeah, Simon watched it.
Is this the Tristan that we all know?
Yeah, the Tristan. Yeah, obviously. What other Tristan would you know?
I don't know.
Exactly, and I would tell you. Anyway, it's an outstanding episode. It's first couple seasons of The Simpsons, really the first 7 or 8. So completely well done, and everything is just, and it's just just so well done, that show.
Yeah.
Here's your turtle, alive and well.
You didn't tell me that you wanted to talk about The Simpsons.
I know. I just threw it at you.
Yeah, well, we can talk about The Simpsons because obviously I'm one of the big fans of it, as everyone knows. We all share the same sentiments that the show has never been as good as as it was. Since
there's nothing better.
Since the sort of the 9th season or something like that, there was really nothing that could compete with it. But since then, it's kind of gone downhill, and I don't think we can be too sad about it because we got a lot of good TV out of it, and I don't blame them for wanting to stay on the air all this time because there's so much money being made from it.
When you say be sad, it makes me think that what the hell is the finale going to be about?
It's one of the shows that I don't imagine is going to end with a finale. It's going to end with a whimper and not with a bang.
You think?
Yeah, I don't think.
What I think will happen is we'll probably get a semi-sentimental ending, and then we'll probably get a movie every couple of years, which is going to suck.
Oh, I really hope that doesn't happen because I wasn't totally enamored with the Simpsons movie.
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. It was definitely better than the caliber of episodes that were on at the time.
Yeah, it was. It was because that's because it was written by a lot of the old writers.
Yeah, I know. It still had a lot of shitty stuff in it, and you can just tell that they're running out of ideas. They've already done the episode where Moe's turned his bar into a nightclub 4 times.
yeah. There's only so much you can do with that concept. That's why they keep trying to change the show's format, and it's not working for them.
Well, they treat it like they try to go along with the stuff that is popular at the time instead of keep their own niche. They made Homer retarded and Bart too. I mean, early that one episode of The Simpsons. I think it's in season 6, the April Fool's Day episode. And when
with the beer can.
Yeah, with the beer can, and he gets Bart with the milk.
Isn't that a clip show? It's like a flashback
Yeah,
episode.
yeah, it's a clip show. It's April Fool's episode, but Homer says, beer. He's like, my one weakness, my Achilles heel, if you will.
Yeah.
You would never catch him saying anything like that, and the only reason he says it, and it's funny, is because you wouldn't expect him to say it. First of all, and secondly, it's just an overt joke. But I mean, everything he says is so dumb now, and he's just a Peter Griffin. He's just a Cartman or whatever. He's just stupid.
Yeah. While we're on the subject of animated shows as well, I also want to. Do you watch Bob's Burgers at all?
I've watched a few episodes of that show. It's pretty promising. I haven't really.
Yeah, it's funny. It's really
really gotten into it that well.
It's 3 episodes into its second season now, which we were all
Yeah.
hoping it would get renewed for because it was appealing to quite a lot of us. And the second season's been pretty stellar so far.
Well, Fox never cancels any shows. Not even Arrested Development. They're good with that.
Or Futurama, or yeah.
Arrested Development. There's a show we could talk about for a while.
Yeah, well, we won't do that right now, but we can on a future episode for sure, because it's obviously very, very well regarded by us and a lot of others.
I need to rewatch that show again. It's only 4 seasons, 3 seasons.
It's 3, yeah, but it's every
3.
The first season's a full-length one. The second one's only it's like 18 episodes, and then the third one's only like 15. Gives shorter.
It's perfect though, and I really need to rewatch that show. There's a lot of references I'm missing, which kind of disappoints me. Goddamn, is maybe hot.
Did you see what was that movie that she was in recently? She was in a movie, Cedar Rapids. Is that the one? She was in that.
Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, it's a movie with it's got Ed Helms in it, and it's got the guy that played Clay Davis.
I love Ed Helms.
Yeah, it's I never saw it. I never actually saw it, but I should, because it looks like it might be good.
Does he say shit?
No, but there's one bit where I don't know if he does or not, but in the trailer there's one bit where he does an Omar impression, and
is that's that movie? Because I saw commercials for that.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, it's like I do a pretty good Omar from the HBO drama The Wire.
And I keep one in the chamber in case you ponder.
That's right.
God, Omar.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We're going to do a very special episode of Betty Draper Sucks at some point in the future, where we talk about The Wire at length, and we'll get some of the big fans on, and we'll all talk about our favourite moments and favourite characters.
That's gonna be a very long show.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah,
it might be.
I'm looking forward to it.
You got 5 full seasons of incredibly deep and layered and intricate character drama, and 5 separate storylines.
2 parts.
maybe we'll talk about half of it right now. I love that damn show.
Yeah, let's not talk about it now.
We can talk about it for a minute. Don't fuck with me.
Okay,
right now.
all right. I'm not stifling you.
You're stifling. What you're doing is
I'm being part of the patriarchy, man.
You know what you're doing is you're being the mayor right now, and I'm Burrell. I'm trying to get some fucking money for my department, and you're just trying to keep crime down.
Yeah, stop juking the stats, Dave.
Juking the stats. That's how
majors become colonels.
Lieutenants become sergeants become lieutenants, and majors become colonels, and colonels become jimmies.
Making burglaries into larcenies and making rapes disappear. The thing that's so great about that line is that it's so universal. Like, it happens in every single company, it happens in every single institution around the world. It's just a universal human trait.
Yeah, so many central conflicts in the show are just, they boil down to the conflicts that anybody has in any walk of life.
Yeah.
It's one of the most immensely relatable, probably the most relatable show I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's everybody that ever watches it takes away a different thing from it because of the different experiences that everyone's had in their life. But once everyone's watched it, they realize that it's the thing that makes the show so great is how universal that it is.
You watch Mad Men.
Everything.
Yeah, you watch Mad Men, and you're almost in awe of the characters, and you're almost jealous of their lives, and that in and of itself, makes a good show, because who doesn't want to watch a show like that? But then you watch a show like The Wire, where everything is grounded and everybody's so real. You see those kind of characters in Mad Men too, but not in the same way that you see them in The Wire.
That's what I think
Everyone's
makes The Wire the better show, because it's much more. It's so much more down to earth than Mad Men.
Yeah, so much grittier, right?
Yeah.
I think Mad Men has surpassed it for me almost. I mean, I'm almost a little uncomfortable saying that, but I'm also comfortable saying it. It does character stuff, like emotional stuff, better than The Wire does. But The Wire doesn't really have much time or much place for that because there's too much other shit going on and too many stories to tell.
The scope of The Wire is so much wider.
The scope, it's incredible. If you know, they do a couple of great scenes, emotional scenes. Obviously, one of the last scenes with Michael and Dookie in the car. Obviously, is one of the most emotional scenes in television history.
Every time if someone brings it up, it makes me choke up. That scene, it's unbelievable. Going back to what we said about child actors, the Wire's got some of the best as well.
Oh my God, it does. I mean, that entire season 4, that they were so believable, and you just felt so hard for Randy and Michael and Doogie and Sherrod.
Even Naaman,
who was obviously a little older, but Naaman was incredible. Yeah,
the subtleties of the actor that plays Naaman, the way that he conveyed that sort of, that sort of bravado coated over the sort of insecurities that he has because of his upbringing. It's just it's so well done. He does it.
It's funny because you see kids like that. You see kids that are hard asses and are really just
in my high school, it was like 90% of the kids were like that.
But you don't see performances like that are that well done in that layer, because I didn't see it coming from him. I didn't think he was going to be a pussy, but he was.
The problem is that most TV producers don't have confidence in the actors that they get to sort of portray that level of character depth. They don't believe that they're capable of it, so they turn all the children into just plot devices, which doesn't do them any favors.
The one thing that The Wire does better than any other show I've ever seen is that almost every single actor is very, very good. And there's scenes in The Sopranos where there's obviously some pretty bad secondary actors, and other shows I've seen have some really bad actors in it. But I don't remember seeing, like, besides that one receptionist lady at the high school or junior high. It was like the only moment you watch that show and you think, well, she's a bad actor. Everybody else is just like, wow.
Yeah.
Everyone's so into their role, except for Kima, who's the worst character in the history of TV. She's the worst. When she talks, you hear her voice, and she's like, "Hi, I'm acting. I'm Kima. I'm acting. I'm playing a part." Besides those two things, I mean, the casting is done so well.
Yeah. It's a brilliant show when it comes to that sort of thing.
And going back to the discussion we left, the Mad Men premiere, the opening scene, if you remember, where the guys from YNR are throwing down the water bags, the water bombs they called them, onto the black protesters. That actually happened.
It did?
In real life.
Really?
Yes. They based it off an actual event that happened, and I thought that was a cool cold open to the season almost.
Yeah, cold open for the people sitting on the sidewalk.
That was the pun.
Did you notice that one of the guys in the office was he's from the Derek comedy series, the videos, the ones, you ever see that bro rape video?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I didn't notice. I was trying to look at the guys and see if I've seen him before, but I hadn't.
Yeah, the one that was sort of sitting down in the corner was the guy that did the interview, the bro rape interview.
I'm probably gonna watch it again, so I'll look for that.
Yeah, it's the same guy. He's actually been in Community as well with Donald Glover, who's also from that video.
I wanted to go back and talk about something that we didn't discuss at all besides her body and her possibility of working at SDCP. Is Betty and Henry AWOL completely? Not even in the premiere.
Yeah, I'm not really upset about that either.
I'm not really that upset about it either. I like their dynamic, Betty and Henry, because he was kind of doting at first. He was just really enamored by her looks, and you remember when they went to Christmas and Henry's mom was like, "I can see why you married her. She's a silly woman," and you can just she married her because she was she's gorgeous, and
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of parallels Don and Megan's sort of swift marriage as well, because Don and Megan's attraction was purely physical, and now that they've got to know each other, they've
Well, I don't
problems
know if I'd
arising.
say purely physical. I mean, you could tell that Don was. It was almost an audition from when they went out there, and when the milkshake was spilled, like we talked about in the last episode, and she didn't
Yeah,
overreact. Obviously, he sees her as a mother, more of a mother than Betty. Betty is,
mm.
Betty is like, she's hard on her kids. Her kids got to grow up right away. They got to be adults. Sally's got to be just like her mom, and she's turning a lot, to be a lot like her mom, independent and bratty. Unless she's around Don.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's interesting to see the two relationships, how they've the relationship started with Don and Betty, and then they split off, but they've both sort of gravitated towards people that are similar but different to their previous partner. People sort of don't change that way.
Well, obviously they're not going to change. So Peggy, she's still with that weirdo.
Yeah, yeah. Peggy's. I'm looking forward to Peggy's character development in this season. She's got to be taken down a peg, if you will
You
excuse
think
the
she's going to
pun.
be taken down a peg?
I think she will. Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't think she has to, but I think she will. I don't think they're gonna let her lord it over everyone for too much longer.
I think we're going to see a conflict in this season between her boyfriend, and her ideals. She's obviously not a racist, and there was hints of that earlier with the one company that wouldn't do ads or wouldn't with the auto parts. I forget what they
No,
were
it was the
called.
TV company didn't want to advertise to black people.
I believe it was the auto parts company that didn't want black people. But yeah, the TV company, I know what you're talking about. That
Admiral.
Pete tried selling them to. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna end it here. We had a good discussion this week on Mad Men. Look forward to next week's show. We're going to be discussing the next episode of Mad Men, obviously. What else, Dave? What do you think we'll be discussing next week?
Well, it'll be nearly time for Game of Thrones to be back, so I'd like to talk about that a little bit more. Hopefully, we can get a guest on who knows a little bit more about it than my co-host here.
Hey, I know everything about that show.
Yeah, you sure do.
We were looking forward to having Ben on this week, but we couldn't get him on. Maybe next week we can get him on. But yeah, thanks for listening, and I love you.
Yep, we'll see you next time. See you later.